Hello and welcome to the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Chris, and we're going to talk about Google Ads. I have news to share, a very important thing that I noticed this week that you need to be aware of about changes that Google Ads is making to your Google Ads accounts. Without you knowing, I'm going to show you where to find it, how to identify it, and how to stop it, or at least undo it. So stay around for that. That's going to be at the top of the show. Then middle of the show, I'm going to have a question from John. I'm going to answer his question about targeting and some questions there. And then last, we're going to get into the big topic of the week. I'm going to discuss what I feel is the truth about max conversion bidding. Really, you could call it the ugly truth, the reality, the good, the bad, and the ugly about max conversions. And I want to share a story. I want to share some revelation that might help you with decisions that you're making about your bidding strategies in Google Ads. So that's going to be at the bottom of the show. Be sure and stick around. At the top here, I'm going to remind you about a longtime sponsor and favorite software of the show, optio.com/PSP. That is the URL. If you want to get your hands on my favorite management software for Google Ads. It is designed to get all the things that you need done, from the initial audit of an account to management of the account, all the way down to reporting on the account. This system does it all, and it's very simple. If you just need something to look over your shoulder and make sure that you're not doing something inherently wrong with the account, you're not mismanaging it in some way that you should know, but you don't notice it. If you want something to help you with that, it can help you with an alert system that says, hey, did you realize your bids are way too high, way too low? Did you realize that you turn it off at this time? And all these different things. It's going to alert you about these things based on the impact that it's making on the account. So kind of priority-based system. Then if you're interested in something to help you with reporting for clients that you have, let's say you're like me, you have a lot of Google Ads clients that you're managing, and you need a reporting system to help you report and send out these reports. It's designed to do that as well. Go check out all the things that Optio can do for you to save you time in Google Ads. optio.com/PSP. All right. So, on with the show. Right off the top here, I want to tell you about this, finally, something that I have I've explicitly discussed some of the changes that Google Ads is making, and my disapproval with it. I do not like this. Just to be clear, I do not like this new change, and the change, as I've discussed, is that Google is now pausing what they're calling inactive ad groups and keywords. Okay, so an inactive ad group or keyword is something that has not received impressions in 90 days. So low activity ad groups, keywords that maybe they're very important during Christmas time. Maybe they're very important during summertime for you, and they just sit in the account, and then once the new season comes in, boom, they start up again. But those can be paused without you doing it by Google. So this is something I'm not happy at all about. I do not like. I think it could be a threat to many seasonal accounts out there that don't need their keywords all the time. They run Google Ads 365 days a year, but some ad groups are very seasonally focused, and that could get paused without you knowing it. So here's what you do. I finally saw this pop up in one of my accounts, and you can go to your change history, which is at the very bottom of the Google Ads screen there. Far left side, very bottom, it's called change history. If you haven't been there, explore around there. You can see all the different changes that have been made based on the time range that you're looking at. But what you're looking for is specifically a change that's been made by the user, low activity system bulk change. So it's a long username, ridiculous. but that's the name of it. There's a user that will have made a change to your keywords or your ad groups or something like that. And it'll be the user low activity system bulk change. It wasn't you that did that. It wasn't anyone else. It was the Google system. It's not a recommendation. It's not something you can turn off. You have no ability to stop it. The only thing you can possibly do is to catch it when it happens within a couple months. And if you catch it soon enough, there is an undo button, and you can undo that change. So one of my client accounts, I noticed this going through, and I saw that the low activity system bulk change had paused 20 of my keywords. Some of them were phrase, some of them were exact, but apparently the Google system decided, hey, you're not getting enough traffic on these. We're going to pause them because they're quote unquote low activity. Absolutely baloney. I think this is something that I'm going to say, I think Google will undo this. I think they'll get pushback. I think that people will be hurt by this. I think that it could be destructive. I can only guess at the reason for something like this. I mean, I have multiple theories, and it doesn't really matter what my theories are. I just know that Google's doing it, and I don't like it. So for me and my clients that I manage, I am undoing these when I see it. And that's the secret. You look for in the change history screen in Google Ads, look for the low activity system bulk change user. You can even filter for that user and find all the changes that have been made. And to restate, these are ad groups and keywords that can be paused by Google because of a new rule that they wrote themselves this year. I talked about it earlier this year when the news came out that was a reality. So watch for that. Also, I am sad to say that as you are listening to this, it is now the death of the old UI in Google Ads. You say, Chris, with your technical language, you're so knowledgeable. What is the Google Ads UI? Well, what I mean is the old user interface in Google Ads is now gone. We are all now forced to use the new interface. According to Google, I believe the last day that you can use the old interface was beginning in the very end of August, and I believe it has now been, as so many things are, sunsetted, which is, I never like to hear that phrase from Google. I really hate things when they become sunsetted, and particularly Google Ads, because most of the time it's something that I might have been using. Average position was sunsetted. User location reports were sunsetted. Exact match keywords were sunsetted. There were a lot of things that we lost. And this year, I mean, we could have a whole funeral for things that were sunsetted. The ability to multi-target things in your display campaigns was sunsetted. So the old UI is now forgotten, gone. You can't get to it, and we are now stuck with the new UI. Which, the new UI, I don't know. I mean, it's different. I don't like a lot of things about it, but the thing that bugs me about the new UI is every time we get a new update, there's always a few things that fall off. There's always a few things that drop off with the new UI. Like, oh, that button's gone now, or this button isn't here anymore, or this option isn't here. That always seems to happen, and you don't realize they're gone until you need it that one day, and you realize, oh, that's not here anymore. It's gone, which is incredibly frustrating when you realize that. So that's the frustrating increasingly frustrating news on Google Ads for this episode. I wish I didn't have to share so much negative thoughts on the changes to Google Ads, but I feel it's increasingly frustrating to fight against the growing suppression on the ability to manage our own accounts and have transparency on what we're spending money on. But that is the Google Ads we're working in now. So let's move on with a question from a listener. You can send in your questions to me, and I'll queue them up to be answered whenever a Q&A episode comes up, or when I answer them typically once a week. You can send an email to paidsearchpodcast@gmail.com and send in your question there and let me know what I can answer for you. John's question comes in and says, "Hi, Chris. If a client has identified a feeder market, defined as a larger nearby metro area," that's what he means by feeder market, "and this larger metro area attracts a great deal of attention, but isn't quite in the area of the client, do you think it's wise to target that feeder market with keywords and targeting? This is in an effort to communicate similar products or services in the proximity of that metro area." So in this example, John's specifically asking about homes for sale. So let's say there's a big metro area, and within 45-minute, 1-hour drive, something like that, there are homes for sale. And the people in this metro area are not in that area, but perhaps they would have an interest because it's near them. Okay, so he wants to know, should this wider net strategy be utilized in the age of Google's increasing AI, or would it be better to focus on the actual market keywords like homes for sale in fill in the blank, whatever area, smaller area? So, great question, John. My answer to this is pretty much 99% yes, it should be done. I can't really think of a scenario when it absolutely should not be done, because I think every potential relevant area should be scratched to some degree. So let me explain. I think it is a mistake for managers to build Google Ads campaigns that solely focus on the most detailed, long tail, low funnel, highly specific keywords. I see many people that have reached a frustrating failure point when they run campaigns with all exact match keywords. And these exact match keywords get almost no traffic. Their cost per click is exceedingly high. And these exact match keywords don't actually provide exact match. They're getting other kinds of traffic, and they're very frustrated by this, and they conclude that Google Ads doesn't work for them and it's not a good idea. So that's the extreme of someone who is opposed to a feeder market scenario. So what you should do, and I think everyone should do this, is you should try your own feeder market. And for those of you listening that are not John, that you could apply this in many different ways, but I will talk specifically to John's question, and then you can apply it to your situation as needed. Geographically, you could have a feeder market, and you're selling homes an hour away, 40 miles away from your targeted area, and perhaps these searches could be something like homes, we'll use something that I'm familiar with rather than use an obscure city, but we'll say Dallas. I live near Dallas. Let's say homes in Dallas suburbs, right? Or homes with 1 acre lots, homes with 2 acre lots. right? Maybe the area that the value that you're providing is that it's, a bigger area, more spaced out. It's in the suburbs. It's out of the, the city, the, inner city area of Dallas. And people aren't going to necessarily search for your city name. What they are going to search for are different aspects that are features or benefits of what you're offering. So they may not say, I'm looking for something in some other city. They're going to say, I'm looking for something that is in the suburbs. I'm looking for something that has a larger acreage. I'm looking for something that is more affordable. I'm looking for something that is within this price range, or this certain house size. They have something like that that would be pointing to the fact that they're not looking for something immediately in their area. They don't know where, but they're looking for some kind of feature or benefit of the home that they're wanting to buy. So this is a great idea. I think you absolutely should do it, and you should test many different varieties of ways that people would be defining what it is that they're looking for, because home searches are going to be a multi-level kind of thing. People are going to try many different angles to try and find homes, from price to the style to distance to north, south, east, west. There's going to be a lot of different indicators about what kind of interest they would have, and you should try to pin as many of those angles as possible and test them. So the important part here is that you test it, but you also run a campaign that is specifically what you're selling. So if you're selling homes in a geographic area, you should also run a campaign that targets that geographic area, homes near me for sale, something like that, and that should have the highest possible bids that would be affordable for you. So essentially you have a tiered Google Ads campaign. One campaign is your immediate area that you're selling homes in. Maybe it's a 20-mile radius, 10-mile radius, and it's homes near me, and whatever the city name is. And so you make sure you get those people that are in that immediate area. Then you have another campaign that's much wider. Maybe it's targeting the Dallas area or the entire Dallas metro, possibly. And that's where you try broader terms. You don't use that smaller city name. You try things like, things mentioning the price per square foot, or the acreage, or the style, or the fact that it's new, or that it's in a suburb, or that it has specific features, benefits, whatever it is that would pull their attention to that area that they didn't initially know about. So this is true for anyone, whether you're selling a home or you're selling a widget or you're selling a service. If you have some kind of benefit that extends beyond just the product itself, you don't just sell homes, you sell homes that they all have at least 5 or more acres attached to them. Boom. Now you have a subset of targeting that you could move to a different geographic area, to a feeder area, or something, some kind of different targeting that you could test that. And the important part is this: keep the bids appropriate. For this secondary campaign that's targeting this feeder market, keep the bids lower. Don't bid really aggressive here. Keep the bids at a more economical, affordable level. You don't want to be first all the time. You may want to lose a lot of traffic due to your bids not being high enough, but that's fine. That's why it's a test. You need to see if it's going to work or not. See if it results in any kind of success, whether you're looking at the quality of traffic or whether that's phone calls or forms that they're filling out. Whatever your measurement of success is, see if you can attain it to a reasonable degree of cost and go from there. I think it is very important that you never decide to, I use this word a lot, pigeonhole your campaign. You never decide to just take the campaign and build it in such a way that it is only one tunnel-focused, tiny little subcategory that is only going to get a few clicks. The cost per click is going to be incredibly expensive because it's such a micro niche market. That's not going to be appropriate for someone just beginning. If you're just beginning your Google Ads campaign, try a multifaceted approach. That might mean you have one campaign with 5 or 6 or 8 or 15 different ad groups in all these different ways. Or maybe that means you have one campaign with 2 ad groups and then another campaign with 3 ad groups or 5 ad groups. And those campaigns, one's a primary and one's a secondary campaign. And you give the appropriate bids and budget for each based on the value of those campaigns and those keywords. So whether you want to call it a feeder market or you want to call it a high funnel, low funnel campaign, you want to call it a informational campaign and a kind of highly valuable campaign, whatever you want to call it, build those and test them. That will keep your campaign from going stale, from going cold too quickly. You need to be broad, start broader, and narrow over time. Let the campaign breathe. Otherwise, it could end up dying on you. That's not what you want it to do. And speaking of dying, what a weird transition. I am going to talk about the truth about max conversion bidding here in just a second, and I'm going to talk about a scenario that speaks to the dying of a campaign, the dying of something that was just absolutely killing this account, and what I've come to realize. And before I tell that story, I want to remind you, opteo.com/PSP. That's opteo.com/PSP. Go there. Use the chat box at the very bottom of the screen and tell them, hey, Chris sent me here. They said you can get me 2 months for free of your software, and they will hook you up. You'll be glad you did. I'll tell you, I get a lot of people that say, hey, Opteo is amazing. Thank you so much for telling me. And I am not kidding about that. Okay, so here we go. Let's dig into it. Final segment here, the truth about max conversion bidding. And I'm going to start with this very important amendment to my statement about the truth of max conversion bidding. Is I am a little biased. I will admit I'm biased because I am a always manual bidder when I launch and build and manage campaigns. I always start campaigns that I manage with manual bidding 100% of the time. Now, I do think that max conversion bidding is great for some accounts, but I want to share a story with you about how this situation can actually end up hurting the performance of your account in ways that you would not see if I didn't tell you this example. It's critically important that you understand that what you see on your screen in Google Ads will not represent the truth about what's happening. And I want to dig into this. So let me tell you about a windshield repair company that I've worked with for a while now. And this company they're spending a lot of money. It's a very expensive industry, very fast moving. There's a lot of competitors. You can't really kind of tiptoe into this industry. You really need a lot of money and spend to be able to get into it because it's tough. So we have ironed out exactly what the cost per click needs to be for this industry. And I'll share the numbers with you. So in order to make this affordable, the client needs to get $35 per conversion or lower. So their cost per conversion needs to be $35 or less. All right. So they have multiple locations, multiple cities around the U.S., and I'm managing this for them. And in one particular city, I'm getting a $50 cost per conversion. So a little bit of math here. I'm missing the mark. I'm not hitting their $35 cost per conversion. So I, as a responsible Google Ads manager, decide, you know what? I can't quite get this to where I need it to be. I am going to try max conversions. So what I do is I set up an experiment and run an experiment for, I think, about a 6-week time period. And I run my original campaign just as it is, and I set up a 50-50 experiment. So 50% of the budget's going into this experiment, and I am running it as a target CPA. So max conversions is still max conversions, but if you hit a little checkbox when you're setting up your bids, you can also tell it, hey, my goal target max conversion number is $35. And the system told me it thinks it can hit that $35 mark. So I gave it a $35 cost per conversion goal. Okay? So if you're confused by that, I just want to be clear. Max conversions is the base. That's the basic term for max conversion bidding. Max conversion bidding is max conversion bidding. Target CPA is when you take max conversion bidding and just assign a goal number to it. So if it's $35 or $50 or $100, that's still target CPA bidding running under the max conversion bidding umbrella. So I'm running this, and let me jump forward quite a few weeks and tell you what the result was. I was thrilled. It is my job to deliver the client as many possible leads at the most economical cost per acquisition possible. And I was thrilled to see that this max conversion target CPA bidding strategy went from $50 cost per acquisition for my manual bidding down to $35. So after some time and watching this thing kind of cook and see how it runs, and I'm comfortable with the move, I decide to go ahead and push forward and give the account, the max conversion bidding, 100% of the budget. I stop my manual bidding. I create a new campaign from that experiment and launch it as a target CPA $35 goal experiment. That is now a full-fledged 100% budget campaign. And I'm so happy. I'm running along, and weeks go by, and I think about 2 months go by, and I'm seeing amazing conversion rates. I was getting about a 25% conversion rate. This max conversion campaign is getting a 44% conversion rate. Now, the cost per click was higher. It went up about 50% on the click, cost per click. But the conversion rate was absolutely making up for that expense. And so the result was I was getting much better cost per conversion. So I'm thrilled. I don't have to manage the manual bids anymore. A little bit of weight off my shoulders, and I'm cruising along. But you know there's a but coming, because no one says the truth about max conversion bidding, and they don't have some kind of scary antidote at the end. And here it comes. Here comes the antidote at the end. The client emails, to my surprise, with some complaints and some problem. They said, Chris, thank you so much for being so amazing at everything you do. They didn't say that. Okay, what they said was, Chris, the numbers are bad this month, and they're even worse now. Our Google Ads system, your reports show a massive improvement in your cost per conversion, but the cost per job, the cost per people actually getting their window or their windshield repaired, The cost for signups on that has gone up 466% since you have pushed from manual bidding to max conversions. This is terrible. After some very brief thought, I immediately undid the max conversion target CPA bidding, went straight back to manual, and I'm now riding happily at that $50 cost per conversion. Because what was on the screen on Google Ads was not the truth about what was happening in the Google Ads account. It was delivering conversions. It was doing exactly as it should. There's no fault to the system, right? The system isn't designed to fail. It was doing great. And a very short-sighted manager will say that target CPA, maximize conversions, always works. It's always better. That is not true. That short-sighted manager will only see the numbers presented in front of them. They will argue. And I hear this all the time from people saying, you know, I'm so glad to be working with you, Chris, because I talked to, you know, my agencies, they'd have, you know, 4 or 5 people on this Zoom call, and they'd keep showing me numbers and pointing out things, and you know, they just argue with me about how things are so much better, and I show them my numbers, and they're worse, and they're getting worse and worse and worse. That's the short-sighted management aspect. The numbers on the screen do not represent the quality of leads. If you're running a lead generation campaign, it does not represent the quality of traffic that you're getting. It just means that more people are now hitting that minimum threshold of calling a phone number, filling out a form, booking an appointment, something like that. There's still a person associated with that lead. There's still a quality value associated with that person, whether they're really going to sign up or not. Right? As Google Ads managers, we forget our job is not done when that conversion happens. That job has to be then taken from my hands, and then the salesman or you know whoever has to take it from there and convert that conversion into a sale, a booking, a job, whatever it is. So why did this happen? Why did this max conversion bidding show such phenomenal numbers but just fail? You know, what was it? Well, I mean, I'll tell you right now. I don't know. If I knew that, there wouldn't be so much mystery about Google Ads. I feel like people would have a much better understanding, and Google Ads wouldn't be so frustrating to so many people. So if you're hoping that I have some amazing solution for you and say, here's what happened and here's how you can fix your max conversions, that is not what I'm going to tell you. It is an unknown factor. It could have been a lot of things. It could have been because the max conversion system was pushing more competitor terms, getting a lot of people that were shopping at weird times of the day, midnight, 2 a.m., 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and they're not able to get in touch with them, or the salesmen are out of office, weekends possibly. I don't know. Could have been people that were searching more free, discount, pricing, cheap kind of stuff. And those people are not willing to pay the actual price of the product, the service, whatever it is. Could have been all of those. Could have been a list double that length. I'm not sure. Because if I knew that, I would take that learning and then fix my max conversion bidding. But the fact is that I swapped it, and the campaign's running back at a much higher cost per conversion, but the client is much happier because I'm managing to the baseline of what's most important. And the most important thing is not the cost per conversion. The most important thing is not my cost per click. The most important thing is the integrity of those leads. And if that means that I need to fudge the numbers a little bit and cost per conversion no longer has to be 35, it needs to be 50, because we actually get better lead quality, better cost per job with a $50 cost per conversion than we do with a 35. And that's what we went with. And to make this story even more perplexing and more frustrating, is this. This is not true for other locations. You say, Chris, if this story is true, why wouldn't everybody just run on manual? Well, the fact is that it's unpredictable. This solution worked in other locations. I moved it over to automated bidding and had phenomenal numbers with other locations, with this same client, same product, same landing page, all that stuff. I mean, same thing, and it worked great. And I've been able to maintain that $35 cost per conversion, and it works great. So the truth about max conversion bidding is that sometimes it can work, and sometimes it absolutely does not, and it will lie to you. Not because it's evil or because it's doing it on purpose, but because it has one job. It has a job of getting you conversions. And it does not know that some of these conversions are not as valuable. It just knows conversion. It's getting them, and it's only reacting to the data that you're feeding it. So I hope that helps you understand the baseline difference between max conversions, manual bid, and a perfect example about the difference between the two. Manual can provide more control, more stability, whereas max conversions can provide mysterious lift. And I call it mysterious because there's really no other term. Sometimes the exact same keywords, I don't change anything else except for the bidding, same ad, same landing page, and I get a massive lift in the conversion rate. And people convert so much better. I went from a 25% conversion rate to a 44% conversion rate. But for some reason, people didn't accept the job as often. People didn't buy the service as often. Even though I generated many more conversions, they had a 466% increase in the cost per job. Awful. To the point that they were going to have to stop the Google Ads campaign entirely for that location. Right? So we go from, I'm missing the mark on my quote-unquote KPI, my cost per acquisition, I'm missing the mark. But now I'm missing the mark and getting the cost per lead, the cost per job down to where it should be. So you got to make that choice. I hope this has helped you. If you'd like to reach out to me about managing your Google Ads account, I'd be happy to provide an audit and tell you if I think I'd be a good fit for that. You can find me at chrisschaefer.com and reach out there. You can book an initial 15-minute consult, or I can provide a video audit of your account, whatever you'd like. Or if you're just here for the free advice, I'll be right back here on next week, Monday. Have a great day.